It's a nice and sunny day here in the Astrolades. The grass is flowing, the leaves are blowing on the trees, to the wind blowing across the valley. Let's get into developer update number 4, bug fixes and player feedback from the closed beta test. Hello, I'm your host Frosty Coffee 1HD. Today, we are here to talk about developer update number 4, where we received feedback regarding the closed beta test for the game we all know and love, Blue Protocol. For those that have been following my videos and news regarding the game, you'll know that Blue Protocol's closed beta test started on April 23rd and ended on early morning of the 27th. Soon after, the team for Project Sky Blue announced they will be going dark until today, June 18th. Where we got an update regarding the feedback for the game. So, let's get started. From the beginning, they started off by letting us know that they are safe by keeping a good distance from each other with this long table for spacing purposes, and they apologize for delays due to the pandemic. We got to see submissions from the CBT regarding screenshots and art of different styles. The team discussed the meaning behind CBT and how it is useful for them to be able to work on the game and update it effectively. They showed us a brief preview of graphs and charts that they compiled for the closed beta test, based on players, in-game, and surveys. The developers showed us a brief preview of the graphs and charts that they compiled for the closed beta test, based on players, in-game, and surveys. The first one is graphical configurations. The second is progression of main scenario story. 3. Player level, 35 being the max level achieved. 4. Main class played. 5. Craft time for weapons, imagines, etc. 6. Keyboard actions. 7. What players thought of the actions/skills. All of the graphs and pie charts will be available June 19th for everyone to view and will be discussed in a later video of mine. By the time I upload this video, it will probably be available. So instead of completely overflowing everyone with tons of information all in one video, I decided to break this up so that you guys have the player feedback from the developer update number 4 in one video and another video to cover all the graphs and pie charts later on. The too long didn't read version of this developer update is simply this. The developers plan to update many systems from UI/HUD capabilities, battle difficulty and updates, in-game gameplay updates, game system improvements, graphical settings, and server stability updates. Now, into detail. I've broken up the developer update into categories in the best way possible so that viewers watching do not have to sit through 42 developer questions and updates for the game from the closed beta test. As we begin, I just wanted to let you guys know on the top right-hand corner of your screen, you guys can click on my other video, which is a review of the closed beta test and my thoughts and opinions regarding it. So if you guys want to see my impressions for the closed beta test, be sure to click that on the above right-hand corner of your screen. All right, let's get going. Character customization and cosmetics. There will be more character parts, more voices, more ages, more categories, editable parts, options, and more. There will be more cosmetics, accessories, underwear will be editable, and assuming bra design will be editable as well. Add a testing room. It will be added. So for those that have played other games that have testing rooms to customize your character cosmetics, such as Final Fantasy XIV, for example, these games do it very well, and I hope they do something similar. In my review, I was very unhappy with the lack of character customization, so hearing all this is very hopeful and makes me very happy because I can make my character much more unique, and that's what I love about character creation. Camera movement will be fixed. I don't know exactly what was wrong with the camera movement personally, but apparently it's getting some fixes as well. Graphics. Graphical effects will be adjusted for the game. Dungeon, missions, and battle. Enemy knockback. There was an issue with the knockback mechanic and they plan to fix it. Raids. This is a big one for endgame. They plan on getting rid of the walls so that players can get knocked off the map. Now, that is really interesting. I'm really happy that they did that and not keeping it all enclosed, because that would make things much more interesting. And you guys can hear my opinions about the difficulty and stuff like that, but I really do think that they should really up that. And they voice that here by saying updating the zone and updating how the raid boss difficulty, such as mechanics and more, will be updated for raid bosses. Strategy in the closed beta test. The difficulty setting was intentionally set easy for Blue Protocol's closed beta test, so plans for upgrading health and updates to enemies are being planned. Time attack dungeons. Fixes so players do not go through walls. Wall placement was an issue in the closed beta test. If any future glitches or bugs happen, there will be a system in place to do a check to see if any out-of-bound methods were used. This will improve the ranking leaderboard so that no cheating is involved. Dungeon speed. Mobs are too easy, and players easily are able to beeline to the finish of the dungeon after defeating a specific enemy. This was also talked about in my review, for those that want to check it out. The team has multiple ideas in mind to fix this. Now listen to my keywords on this. Defeat all groups of enemies within the dungeon without having to defeat all dungeon enemies. Giving a bonus to players for defeating both weak and strong enemies. The devs originally only tested the dungeon with smaller parties and mentioned how it might be more enjoyable with smaller groups. However, going forward, they will bring ideas to the table that will be more enjoyable for larger parties. Now, hearing this makes me super happy. All of these changes, the difficulty changes, that's one of the big problems that I had during my review when I was talking about the game, is that it had a lot of difficulty problems, and that people were able to easily go through content without having any real challenge, reward, and all that other stuff. So there wasn't much risk involved, and they needed to be really diligent about doing that and fixing those things. I didn't know about the time attack dungeon stuff as much because I didn't really make it a main focus. I even mentioned that in my review, but the difficulty for the game was a big thing, and I'm glad that they're changing that. But the big thing, I think, about them mentioning how they made it a bit easy in the closed beta test makes me wonder their design choices for the closed beta test anyway, and as to why they made it intentionally easy. Maybe they just wanted to make people have an enjoyable experience for the closed beta test, regardless, with them mainly focusing on the stress testing part of things. But I digress. Let's move on and let's talk about some more things. Class designs. Poor skill design. Skills felt similar to others and not very impactful. From the beginning, it was a plan to add more skills, they said, with more diverse options so that you're not forced to choose when you could have many to choose from. Class abilities. There's a decent amount to choose from, but you only have a select number to choose from in the closed beta test. So the team plans on working on the system. Not only that, plans on giving you more to choose from while in battle. One thing that I do remember them talking about was the fact that they do have a lot more abilities in the background that wasn't available for the closed beta test, so that will be available for launch. Class buffs. The team plans on making classes more geared towards their own. So, for example, this is not what the devs said, but this is my idea of what they're talking about. A spellcaster could have a lightning buff to deal more damage for their lightning abilities. That could also go with other elementals available, such as fire, ice, water, light, darkness, etc. Battle design. Battles were poor and felt repetitive. I agree with that. Using the party versus party, they plan on making those styles of play more impactful, challenging, and creative going forward. Class presets. Players want presets for weapons, skills, imagines, etc., and I think that's a great idea. Final Fantasy XIV and WoW and other games do this very well for having class presets to instantly just have a saved version of your class and then instantly change it whenever you want, kind of thing, and then have that readily available for when you go into a raid or other game modes. Class skills. Players want to be able to look at class skill boards without changing classes. That is something that they want to do. Imagine mounts. The energy is just too low, they say. Energy reduces while stationary, and that's a big thing that I had a problem with. One thing that I do really wish that they would also fix is the fact that when your energy goes low, when it completely depletes, that it cuts off a lot faster, because I've had myself fall over a cliff going way too fast when trying to take a turn or something like that. Maybe that's just the overall how the Imagine works, how its directions and stuff like that. But that was just me, or just me making a mistake anyway, of going way too fast and going over a cliff and not being able to turn sharply enough with the amount Imagine. So I do hope they fix that as well. But they do plan on fixing the energy levels for Imagines. New mounts are planned so that you will have multiple mounts and options for getting energy back. So not only just having to go back to town, but also simply also being within the field, you can get your energy levels back much more easily while just being out in the field, as well as switching between different mounts and other options as well. Let's talk about the world. Town. Hiding weapons. Personal thought, I feel this should be anywhere in the game. The graphical settings will be reduced for the number of players displayed. Load times are too long when entering the zone and leaving the zone. The dev team plans on changing all of this and fixing this so that it's a much more enjoyable experience. Just a side note here, I crashed my computer twice while playing the closed beta test. I reached the max amount of RAM and my CPU was at the max. My GPU, I feel, was fine. I was on my Intel i7 system at the time before I upgraded. Now, I had a pretty decent system and I really don't feel like it should have crashed at all, but it could have been a mix of things. I was streaming at the time. Some of you may know this, that I crashed twice during my time of streaming with the closed beta test, which sucked. And I had never had that happen before on my system. I had never had my system just go completely black on my screen and crash my system and then restart on its own like that. I'd never had that happen before. So it could have been a mix of things. It could have been me streaming as well as the game, but the game in general, just from reading Task Manager alone, I was reading very high levels on all of my cores, as well as just all of my system in general was reaching max memory, which was ridiculous. So there's a lot of things that they do have to fix. Not only that, they did mention that in the update that they plan on reducing the load from the town since it was fairly large. A lot of people had frames per second issue, which not only me, but many other people had as well during the closed beta test. So I really do think that was more of a graphical fidelity thing of just too much things processing all at once, and they really need to down that, and they mentioned that during this live stream. UI HUD menu. Lack of quests displayed on screen, allowing the players to see more amount of quests visible. They plan on fixing that so that you can see more. More accurate and descriptive summary of quest objectives and counts on screen, out in the field, or in battle. Buttons were too small. The cursor was not accurately clicking on options. Things like that they plan on updating. Buffs and debuff timers. They plan on considering how to implement that system on screen. Chat menu. Add chat menu for dungeons so that players can chat freely. Due to their survey, they plan on allowing not only that, but under certain conditions. Voice talk feature during missions. It is inconvenient not being able to perform the action. Under certain conditions, they will allow that. Gamepad. Too difficult to select horizontal items. Support for D-pad on the controller. Cursor automatic movement for selected items. For those that have played Final Fantasy XIV or other games that do this very well, you will know that you can easily tab target to different pieces of the menu on the HUD, where you can actually select these menus and easily access them without having to use the cursor to get to your different places. Buttons were not fully customizable buttons. Now, I didn't use a gamepad during the closed beta test, but it seems like there was a few things that needed to be updated. The minimap, resizing capabilities. That would be an awesome thing to be able to resize that on your screen and not have it so large kind of thing. Considering adding minimap to battles and in dungeons, this would be very nice, especially if you don't know where those hidden secret entryways are to go off to the side or something like that during a dungeon. Acknowledging the location where you are spawning upon reviving. Now, I don't know why you would really need this, but they mentioned that during the developer update, that being able to know where you are when you revive kind of thing. Matching server zone channels. This is a big one. Errors are unable to match with other players or not keeping a spot for the zone. If a player cancels, all players cancel and are forced to requeue for missions, which is annoying. This is also a similar issue for party merging. An error message was vague and will also be fixed, so it didn't really display a very clear understanding as to why you got the error message or why this happened, and they plan on fixing that vague message. For example, relaxing in town, trying to join your friends in a party. This issue wasn't as bad with a small group of players, but with a large group of players, it occurred more often. Now, just hearing that, they've mentioned it a couple times where they've been going into dungeons and other places and testing these systems in small groups. They're not testing it with a full max party, and of course, not having a full-on bunch of 50,000 players, 125,000 players to be able to test these systems with. It also sucks in that sense as well, because there's lag and input lag and all this other stuff that they're not able to test with. So it seems like they're testing it in very small groups and not a full-on party, which sucks. So it seems like they're kind of hashing out and not doing a full-on play test like they should be and testing systems properly. What I think they should be doing is they should be testing this with the whole studio maybe at the same time. Now, they're just a small group potentially, but I feel like maybe they should throw out these codes to other players within Bandai Namco's company just to be able to test these systems properly. Also, issues with additionally teleporting party members to the zone leader. The possibility of joining players not being in the same channel and being automatically disconnected was also an issue in CBT. The devs plan on keeping the same system in place for the closed beta test, but working on improvements to the system so it's more accurate, such as reservation system in place. The thing I question about this is, why wasn't this there from the beginning? Maybe a possible oversight, like many other things. Players also want the capability to view channel numbers and how congested each channel is. Now, when I think about this, I think of Phantasy Star Online 2 and being able to move to those channels freely. You will not automatically teleport to friends' locations. You will keep your own location and join those channels. This is very similar to Phantasy Star Online 2 and other games. Blacklist capabilities so that you can't have players stalk you. Also, allowing followers to freely join you, which is your friends. Private channels, so that you and your friends can have a private channel to yourself. Role-playing, anyone? I'm not sure exactly why anyone would really want this, but it's there. It's going to be there. Follow/follower friend features. Now, this is going to act a little bit more like a friends list for those that have been using the follower system in the closed beta test. It's unknown when someone follows you, friends you, unable to follow them back, and that was an issue in the closed beta test, and they plan on fixing that. Follower list, online/offline, and they're going to make this more like a friends list basically. The players want a color coding when someone is online/offline. Devs plan on improving the system and work it more like a friends list. Yes! With all of these systems in place, I am very excited. I'm glad that they're editing a lot of the HUD UI menus and changing a lot of things that are going to be meaningful and impactful for the game to make it solidly concrete going forward. I'm very excited, and I'm glad that they're changing a lot of these UI features. The inventory system. Storage locker/inventory. Increasing the allowed amount of storage items in inventory and locker storage. However, allowing players to work towards increasing their inventory bag size through gameplay. The devs joked while they were talking about this because most of the players will instantly think, it's a paid feature, isn't it? But for those that have been following news about Blue Protocol will know this is a free-to-play game, and that will not happen. Stackable items was suggested, but it is not planned at this time. Devs are currently working on a new version of the system first before they consider doing that, so it's in the process of thinking of what to do. They want to balance the system. The appraisal system, reworked. Okay, so this is a big topic and a big thing that they talked about during the live stream, and I'm going to talk about it here. Originally, during development, the devs wanted players to move between zones, but due to player feedback, they plan on changing the system entirely. Originally, the appraisal system was apparently only for server stress testing. In my personal opinion, I think this is a load of BS just because they set this system out in place and they expected it to work. Considering the bag size, they wanted to limit it for the closed beta test for testing purposes. The devs go on to say it was unfortunate on their part because they did not mention it to players beforehand, that the appraisal system was strictly for testing purposes. But If they mentioned it beforehand, it may have gone over a bit well with players to go more smoothly in the long run. Now to talk more in depth about the appraisal system. Item colors are just too plain. They were yellow during my time of playing, and they plan on changing every single color of the items. Rare items, special effects. They plan to implement giving an additional level of excitement by having more effects to rare items. Some items will remain unidentified until you pick them up, such as rare items and special equipment. Once identified, devs want to give an added level of excitement when identifying those special items. Normal items, on the other hand, will be identified upon picking them up in the field. Potions took up a lot of bag space, for example, so lots of players got rid of potions. The devs want to add a system in place that gives heavy risk/reward system in place with items. Going into the field or battle with an empty bag or a full bag. Healing items from enemies and chests will be reduced to give an added level of difficulty and preparation on the player's part when entering the field. More details will come in the future. The crafting system. Players want a wish list for crafting items. Accuracy for how much experience is needed or being made when allocating crafting items to a piece of gear, imagines, etc. Crafting machine for weapon tiers was just too crowded, so they plan on making it easier to access. This also goes for a focus for the teleportation portals as well, for being able to access them. Weapon infusions. Allowing players to infuse and defuse at any time on weapons. Overwrite capabilities for imagines. Overall, reducing how long it takes from early crafting to endgame crafting, making early crafting easy and endgame crafting harder. Currently, the schedule for release date is undecided, they say. Right now, the developers say their schedule is scattered and their main focus right now is on the feedback and improvements of systems already mentioned. The developers plan on giving away 39 t-shirts with the hashtag Blue Protocol tag on Twitter before the developer update number 4. So anyone that used that tag before this developer update, they plan on doing that sometime down the road by going to different people and giving them these t-shirts. Anyone that may have had art or posts or content creators from Blue Protocol, they plan on giving these shirts to. Additionally, 10 t-shirts for anyone giving feedback and retweets about Blue Protocol. The t-shirts are white and blue with a Chibi Fest face on the front with Blue Protocol written underneath, and on the back, Blue Protocol logo with Project Sky Blue logo and Bandai Namco's logo on the back. A personal DM will be made to those that qualify via Twitter. The next developer livestream is not scheduled, as I mentioned, as of this video, but the developers plan on using some screenshots with permissions from players to announce the next livestream. Going forward, the developers decided to review what they detailed in the 42-page slideshow, showcasing the feedback received, especially the appraisal system. The devs wanted to share memories from the closed beta test to close out the stream. Funny moments like accidentally running off of a cliff, unable to return a message to a player that recognized them in-game, only to return that message via a DM. The other devs dancing in-game with other players in the town circle to maybe potentially not being able to work and play at the same time because they had so many network things to focus on. Overall, the developers from Project Sky Blue wanted to thank each and every one of us for participating for those that were able to join. Officially, the devs had 125,000 survey results, with over 50,000 lengthy survey feedbacks on the closed beta test. Most of those were report or essay-style, paragraph-style reports. The devs joked during the stream, but they wanted to thank each and every one of us about making such awesome constructive criticism that was given. That's all the news that I have for today, and of course, like I said, the next scheduled live stream is unknown, so it looks like they're going to be going dark again on us until the next developer live stream. Until then, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this Blue Protocol update video, and I look forward to sharing more Blue Protocol content with you guys in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in my next video. If you enjoyed this video, please call 1-800-LIKE-FROSTY to get the latest and greatest crazy talk. I'm not actually being serious, don't do that. It may just put you in a cryo status. All I know is that you should let me cast a spell on you to smash that subscribe button and ring the bell icon on your way out of the innkeeper's desk to know when my next video goes live. If you want to see more from me, you can follow me on Twitch for Frosty Fridays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and follow me on Twitter as I feed the birds about my life story. That's all my time for today, but thank you once again so much for watching. And of course, stay frosty, everyone.